Welcome to another fantastic edition of OCG Thursday. Today we're going to be looking at Chainburn, Qliphorts, and Salamangreat. We're gonna get the meta deck out of the way at this point in time for you guys. So, a lot of you have been requesting, hey Robbie, what's going on with Salamangreats over there? Well, Moontridy provided me with some of the up-to-date optimal builds for this stuff. And the first one you're seeing is Salamangreat. Now, we do not have the structure deck, but some of these cards have now been added into the card pool. We're literally, just missing this guy, this. Very few cards, and we are at Tier 1 status, which is great. Now, I don't know how this deck is going to perform. I'm going to keep my opinion quiet for a little bit on that. I'm indifferent about it right now because of how high the ceiling is in the TCG. We'll have to wait and see. So we have 2 copies of Ash Blossom, triple copies of Effect Veiler. This is actually kind of crazy to me. Just kind of how powerful Veiler is right now. If you Veiler a certain card choice, you literally stunt an entire turn, and that is crazy to me. Just the power that you can do with this all-in-one card. Just be careful when you're trying to play this, though, that you Veiler the right thing, because you Veiler the wrong thing, well, going to be bad times. Triple copies of Lady Debug. This is our searcher of the deck. Remember, level 3 or lower. Bear that in mind. Triple copies of Maxi. This is an essential staple in the OCG. You can't really argue this one too much. You play triple copies of it. Now, we have 1 copy of the Falco, 1 copy of the Foxy, triple copies of the Gazelle. This is probably one of the better ones in the deck. Jaguar, and then 2 copies of Spinny. I've seen multiple opinions on Spinny. Of course, we have 1 Talcum Tomborg, 2 Terratot. I actually wish that the TCG would have done this. I don't know. I guess we have Psychic Wheeler to kind of do the same thing, but I mean, Terratop is still a better card, I feel. Spells, we have Triple Called by the Grave, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, triple copies of the Salamangreat Circle. This is still one of the best cards in the deck. I can't believe they gave them a Searcher and Protection built into 1 card. Like, absolutely shocking. And then, of course, 1 copy of Salamangreat Sanctuary. Trap cards, we have Triple Impermanence, 1 copy of Rage, 1 copy of the Roar. This card is so beautiful for what it does. 2 copies of Judgments, 2 copies of Strike, and we have 1 copy of Emptiness. Now, I think Emptiness as a card is kind of what can push this deck over the edge in the OCG, and it's kind of crazy what this card still does. Like, I get why the TCG banned this card, and they didn't want us to deal with this anymore, but literally, the fact that you can Griffin this brings back, you can't do that in this deck, but literally, just recurable negation that you have access to flip at any stage. Yeah, this card is the definition of nuts in the OCG. Now, the extra deck, we have triple copies of Valenix, triple copies of Sunlight Wolf, 2 copies of Heat Leo, 1 Phoenix, 1 Cerberus, 1 Hida, 1 copy of Borrelsword. This is going to be your OTK enabler. You're going to probably access that at all stage in the game, just to make sure that you have OTK on board. 2 copies of the Mirage Stelio, 1 copy of the Abyss Dweller. Side deck here we have 2 copies of Prankatops, triple copies of Phantasmane. This is what I was talking about earlier. Like, this card is the cornerstone staple for the format, and literally everybody and their mother is citing these right now. This card is so dumb for what it does for the game. Congratulations. We did it. We have triple copies of Skullmeister. Negating those graveyard effects is starting to become more and more of a problem. You need these cards to negate things. Also, surprised no Super Poly here. We have triple copies of Twin Twisters, triple copies of Evenly Matched, and 1 Imperial Order. Like I said, I'm surprised to see no Super Poly here on the side, but we've probably gotten to the point that Cheeky isn't going to be the most optimal thing. You know what I mean? Moving on along here, what do we have next for everybody? Qliphort. Now, this is Demise Qliphort, actually. So, the OCG does have triple copies of Scout. Wonderful. Wonderful. I'm so envious of this. And they've also got a new card called Manhunt. I think this card's crazy. So activate this card by targeting 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. Take control of it, but while you control that monster, it cannot attack or activate its effects. When that monster leaves the field, destroy this card. Now, this is the definition of a broken trap card. Getting to move anything that you want out of the way, transferred over, negate the effects. This is crazy good. So this is some OCG Qliphorts. We have triple copies of Maxi, 2 copies of Carrier, 1 copy of Disc, 2 copies of Helix, triple copies of Stealth, and triple copies of Scout. I don't know why the TCG feels that we're kind of afraid to push Scout back to a higher number than 1. I don't think that the card is that dangerous anymore. I mean, every other deck's got generic searches. It's just, I can kind of understand it, but at the end of the day, I feel like we're just kind of being cheeky with this. Of course, we have triple copies of Ye Old Card of Demise. Who doesn't love winning games because of this? 1 copy of Desires, triple copies of Duality, triple copies of Extravagance. Can we just take a second here, guys, look at this with me. We now have literally 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 10 draw cards for Stun. I never thought that we would reach a time in this game that Stun would have this much love. And boy, oh boy, they did it. Traps, we have Triple Drowning Mirror Force. Honestly, I think this card is pretty good in this deck. Between this, Manhunt, and Skill Drain, like, you're definitely going to be making good plays, essentially. 1 copy of Imperial Order, triple copies of Macrocosmo, triple copies of Manhunt, triple copies of Skill Drain, 2 Judgment, and there's that Emptiness that I was telling you guys about. Just kind of ruins formats. The extra deck down here, we have triple copies of Cleafort Genius, 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Cerberus, 1 Blackluster Soldier, the Chaos Warrior, 1 Tornado Dragon, 1 Exiton, 1 Dark Rebellion, 2 copies of Nova, 2 copies of Infinity, 1 Rampage, and 1 Mega Fleet. Now, the side deck here, triple Inspect Border, we saw actually coming off the YCS this weekend. Inspector Border in stun decks, in the side decks. Like, this card is such a blowout, and I can't say that I'm surprised to see that we've kind of started accessing this guy kind of as just a win con to make sure that we can put down our opponents. We have 1 copy of Feather Duster, triple copies of Evenly Matched, 2 copies of Imperial Customs. Gonna make sure that those continuous trap cards, you know, these guys aren't being destroyed. Triple copies of Impermanence, and we have triple copies of Unending Nightmare wrapping up this list. Like I said, I'm actually kind of in love with Cleafort Stun. I think this deck seems like a lot of fun, and honestly, like, I don't think I would change anything about it. Now, we gotta show a little bit of love for our friends at the Chainburn Factory. Now, the first thing I do want to say is there was a 15-card extra deck. It was all just generic fusions. You play whatever you want in this extra deck. It doesn't matter because that's not how you're attempting to win the game. Now, this deck is playing some interesting stuff. So this is Demise of the Land. So activate this card when your opponent special summons a monster. Select 1 field spell from your deck and activate it. And this is actually using the new Mashodo. So if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, your opponent cannot activate monster effects or declare attacks. If you control more monsters than your opponent does, you cannot activate monster effects or declare attacks. Once per turn during the end phase, if you control the same number of monsters as your opponent, destroy this card. But that doesn't matter because we're going to be controlling no monsters at essentially every stage in the game. They made a crazy floodgate to try to slow down the metagame, and I think the card is great, but Chainburn got their hands on this bad boy. So we have triple copies of Lilith, Ye Old, go search any trap card that we want. Triple copies of Demise, we need a way to refill our hand ASAP, and we got it. We have 2 copies of Ye Old Chain Strike. Honestly, I think you can get away with 1 of this in the TCG. Like, literally. I think it's the only big difference here is literally just that. We have 2 copies of Demise of the Land. Like I said, this and being able to activate a Mashodo on your opponent's turn and get a Chain Link for Chain Strike is kind of dumb. Triple copies of Duality, getting those resources. Triple copies of Pot of Extravaganza, gotta get those resources. Only 2 Balance of Judgment. Honestly, we have more draw power for generic decks than ever before in the game, and it's good that they've made them the way that they have. And 2 copies of Balance of Judgment is fine with the way that you've built this deck for this format. We have triple copies of Just Desserts, triple copies of Metaverse, no Mashodo. Triple copies of Ojama Trio, giving your opponent those monsters that they can't do anything with are great. Excuse me, they can link out. We have triple copies of Ring of Destruction, triple copies of Secret Barrel, triple copies of Secret Blast, and only 1 copy of Trap Trick. I'm not exactly sure how I feel about only the 1 copy, but I get it. Of course, the extra deck we already talked about. Side deck, we have triple copies of Camion, triple copies of Maxi, triple copies of the Null Nun and Blooming Dogwood, triple copies of Drag Down to the Grave, 1 copy of Terraforming, and 2 of the Curse of Darkness. So every time a spell card is activated, immediately after it resolves, that player is going to take 1,000 points of damage. Actually, beautiful support card. Well, that is all I have for this rendition of OCG Thursday, guys. Please leave a comment down below. Of course, every Friday and Tuesday it's Market Watch. I always like to remind everybody that. Turn on those notifications so that you guys can find out what the heck is going on this channel. And, well, guys, hope you have a good rest of your Thursday. Peace out.
The ride never, well, truly ends. Thank you, patrons. Without you guys, I don't know what I'd be wearing in these videos. I might be a Truffle Shuffle incident all over again. Guys, please also check out VanCole40 for some awesome Vanguard content. Some other interesting stuff you might find up here on the left or in the description as well. Thanks for watching.